The best way to keep a prisoner from escaping is to make sure he never knows he is in prison. Everyone thinks they're making independent choices. What to wear, what to believe, who they'll one day marry. But most of these choices were made for them long before they were born. In sociological literature, this is known as cultural capital, inherited psychological dispositions, shaping people's interests, opinions, and thus hierarchical outcomes. A child raised in a wealthy home absorbs the stability, the connections, and the money handling skills. Another child raised in a struggling neighborhood learns an entirely different set of rules, ones that, more often than not, ensure they stay exactly where they started. And yet, both will grow up believing they had the same shot at success, like two different types of fish swimming in the same tank, wondering which corner has the best view, never questioning the walls that confine them.
This is my honest advice for anyone who wants financial freedom.
And it all starts with this. Winning financially boils down to...
I quit a 6-figure full-time job at Google in my 20s to work for myself and achieve financial freedom.
A life where work is optional, you are free to pursue your passions.
Freedom is often experienced as a well-curated menu of options, none of which change the system itself. The so-called two-party system in the US is a performance. Surely you know this by now. You get the illusion of opposing forces, but behind the scenes, it seems like the same industries fund both sides. Take Obama and Trump. Two men marketed as complete opposites. One of them allegedly never touched any substances, the other one smoked a joint. Yet, Wall Street thrived under both. The wars continued under both. Surveillance expanded under both. Meanwhile, the average person keeps picking from the same recycled promises, convinced that this time things will be different. But it's not just politics. Whether it's Apple or Android, Netflix or Hulu, your choices are just variations of the same theme, where the options that you're given change, but the system stays the same. However, when the system feels threatened, when people start to question the options laid out for them, that's when fear enters the scene. Fear makes people beg for their own change. Every major power grab in history starts the same way. A crisis, a frightened population, and a leader who offers safety at a price. After 9/11, the Patriot Act stripped away privacy rights with barely a protest. In the pandemic, government imposed emergency measures that sort of never went away. The cycle repeats because fear numbs rational thought. Even outside of politics, this plays out in everyday life. Companies sell security systems by making you paranoid about your neighbors. This is basic sales tactics.
Sell me this pen.
Create demand and offer the solution. Social media giants claim to protect you from misinformation while deciding what truths you're allowed to see. The hand that locks the door at night is often the same one that holds the key.
Think the way we think, say what we say, or we will fucking destroy you.
You know, you see somebody that says something on Twitter or says something in an interview that is offensive to some group, and all of a sudden you start reading the messages they get.
And are calling for the TV host to be canceled. Fallon responded to the backlash on Twitter saying that he made a terrible decision to do an impersonation of Chris Rock while in blackface. He goes on to write, "There is no excuse for this. I am very sorry for making this unquestionably offensive decision and thank all of you for holding me accountable."
Freedom isn't just taken by governments, it's regulated by the people around you. Step out of line, say the wrong thing, question the wrong ideology, and the masses will correct you before the authorities ever need to. J.K. Rowling went from beloved author to public enemy for daring to challenge radical gender ideas. Colin Kaepernick was exiled from football for kneeling during the anthem. Whether left or right, it's the same mechanism at work. Social pressure replacing independent thought with submission. The fear of exile keeps people obedient. Remember, the most effective form of censorship is the kind that doesn't require a dictator. Just 1,000 disapproving voices drowning out the one.
Well, with corona shaming, with the use of social media, it's a lot more easier for us to corona shame other people who do not follow social distancing measures or even people who are suspected to have COVID-19.
In conclusion, most people don't want freedom. Not really. Sure, everyone says they do. However, behavior doesn't always align with beliefs expressed in lunchtime at work. Instead, I would argue that people mostly want comfort over freedom. Comfort gives a sense of certainty, while real freedom means standing alone, thinking for yourself, and thus risking rejection. It means accepting that no system, no leader, no movement is coming to save you. If you've ever had tunnel vision for a longer period of time towards a truly challenging goal, you've most likely experienced feeling isolated. Think of whistleblowers like Edward Snowden, forced into exile for revealing the truth about government surveillance. Or artists who challenge the status quo and find themselves blacklisted. Some deservedly so. Think of yourself, the moments you held an unpopular opinion and felt the weight of 100 eyes waiting for you to conform. The price of true freedom is a sense of loneliness, but the reward is clarity. The problem is that clarity won't keep you warm at night, and that's why, over and over again, people trade their freedom for the comfort of the familiar, because the unknown is terrifying, the most terrifying fear we know of.